Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. I've got my notes, 2 sticky notes worth of information, and in front of me, I've got half-gallon jar of pinto beans, half-gallon jar of long grain white rice, and a half-gallon jar of rolled oats. These three are the basis of my long-term food storage. The last math that I did, we're sitting at almost 20 months worth of stored food. The number is going to go down a bit because we've got an 8-month-old baby. But my last monthly $100 prepping video did pretty well. So I'm going to break down what I plan on doing for the month of March and giving you this math. Hopefully this will help with the daunting task of preparing. So these numbers come from Walmart because that's where I buy this stuff from. The half-gallon mason jars, a pack of 6 of them are $16.16. Now, you do pay sales tax on that, but for the food, you don't pay sales tax on. So, I don't know the exact math. Where I live, it's 8.25%. So, those 6 jars. And then, breaking down for the pinto beans, on average, you get 3.5 pounds inside of 1 jar. For the rice, you get a little bit more than 4 pounds. And for the oats, it's right around 2 pounds that goes inside that container. So to get the rice, a 20-pound bag of rice from Walmart, right now it's $11.14. My math for the food storage is 2,000 calories a day. So depending on yourself, you might have to make changes. I know that for me to maintain the body weight that I have, I need to eat roughly 1,700 calories. So that extra 300 is taking into consideration, working. Because if you are doing any sort of physical activity, then you're going to burn more energy. So you can pick the math that you want to pick. If you want to do 2,500 calories a day, you change it up a little bit. So for a 1-month supply at 2,000 calories a day for rice, it's going to cost you $55.16. And that's getting the jars and the rice, and you'll have a little bit of rice left over, about half a pound. For the pinto beans, they're a little bit more pricey, but they are a little bit more calorically dense. Jars, same price, $16.16. And it is going to be $14.94 for a 25-pound bag of pinto beans. And you don't just have to stop at pinto beans. You can do black beans, kidney beans, navy beans. The prices go up and down a little bit depending on the beans. But the 120-pound bag of pinto beans is going to get you 25,900 calories. So you only need to get 2.5 bags. So specifically 2.31 bags. So you'll have some left over, and it's going to be the never-ending. I've got a little bit of pinto beans left over, so I'm going to go get more mason jars. But now I have extra mason jars, so I'm going to go get more pinto beans. And then for the rolled oats, the container ends up being 42 ounces, which is 2 pounds, 10 ounces. So for that, you're going to need 5 containers, and you'll have a bit left over as well. And at $3.98. You're going to need to spend just under $20 for the rolled oats. So, adding all of this math together, the rolled oats is the most expensive on this list at $91, plus the 55.16 for the rice, plus 36.5 for the beans, and you're sitting at $182. And for one person, that's 3 months worth of food, that is not terrible. But that is just looking at it from a calorie perspective. The reason why I paired rice and beans is this makes a fairly well-rounded meal. Other costs that you're going to need to consider, I'm pretty sure every sane person out there, after a week of eating this meal, you would probably want to end it all if you're just eating rice and beans. So, you're probably going to want to season it, and it's up to you how you want to season stuff. I found putting honey on rice and throwing a little bit of sugar on it kind of turns it into a dessert. If you like something spicy, you could throw spices on it. You can just get standard store-bought seasonings, or you can go with the classic. Just throw some salt, a little bit of pepper on there, and the seasonings are going to go a long way in making this meal, a lot more edible. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I just grabbed 5 different seasonings. We have a lot more, but it's definitely going to break up the idea of eating the same thing over and over and over again. So rice and beans set up for a standard lunch and dinner, and then the oats being a breakfast option, or you can mix it around. This is just a basis. This gives peace of mind for at least stay alive kind of thing. Another really big thing with all of these meals is water. I talked about in the past, having water storage options, whether it's these soft collapsible containers, or if you're refilling, old juice containers, or you've got, hard containers or rain catchment or whatever. But all of these meals are going to take a hefty amount of water. So my recommendation, with as cheap as this is, that's 3 months right there. So if it was the 182, if we times that by 4, just to hit the 1 year mark for one person, $728. So for $61 a month for 1 year, you could have 1 year worth of food put away. For all 3 of these options, you can either put a O2 absorber inside of the container and store it in a cool, dry place, and that'll keep the little bug eggs from hatching and making your stuff go rancid. What I like to do on top of putting an O2 in there is I'll freeze it in its original packaging for 3 to 4 days, and that also kills the bug egg. So I'm double dipping. And like these oats, I packaged them November of 2020. So that was a fun time. I actually didn't put a date on that rice, so I don't remember when I packaged it. These beans were 12/20/2023, so this was right at the end of this last year. So water is important, prepping it to make sure it lasts for an extremely long amount of time. Doing this way, you are going to set this food up to last a good 25 years. You can also, like I said, getting different kinds of beans. They're all roughly the same price. And we did the pint size to make like 1 person or 2 person meals. And so this is a 7 bean soup. So this is a lot more variety than this. So mix and match, play with it. Another recommendation is, don't just store the rice and beans and, hope. Prepare meals with this stuff. I've eaten rice and beans before. It's not my most favorite meal. I definitely like to try to add some sort of meat to it. So, that's something else that you could add to your preps is, how many different meals can you make? How many different ways can you season it? Have some sort of cookbook that shows, a list of meals that you can make with this kind of stuff, and what other ingredients can you put in it to adjust it and make it taste this way or that way. That way, also, you're not just, crap has hit the fan and you've got all this stuff put away and you've never prepared any meals with it. Learned that the hard way, going camping with some friends of mine, and we brought a mason jar full of pinto beans, and we had a ham bone and no other seasoning. It had a little bit of ham left on it from Christmas, and it was a meal. We survived. We ate it and got the calories and energy that we needed, but it definitely wasn't on the top of our list. So I would say once you hit that 1 year mark with this food, that's your safety net. Now you're going to increase your budget and start adding in Mountain House meals. Are you going to can other fruits and vegetables? Freeze drying other things. Making your own jerk, like doing all of the different planning to have a wide variety of options. So we've got a freezer that's probably got 120 pounds worth of meat in it. If the electricity goes out, we have a generator outside that we can keep the freezer running. At some point, we'd love to have solar, so we don't have to, have fuel for that. But having that meat then turns this, the last count was probably 14 or 15 months of rice, beans, and oats. That, with the 120 pounds of meat, rough estimate, almost doubles the amount of food that we have when you're supplementing, adding pork chops with the beans, adding chicken with the rice, adding hamburger meat to the rice or beans, and then you think about the gravies and everything else that we have. So there are a lot of food options that could be had from this. But the big takeaway should be, even if you have $20 to spend in a month, well, let's say $27.58. That's what it takes to get a 6-pack of these mason jars and a 20-pound bag of rice, and that's going to be 24,000 calories, or roughly 12 days worth of food for one person. So for less than $1 a day, each month you could put away roughly 2 weeks worth of food, mixing up between those things. Other long-term items that you can put away that I'm working on, you can do, dried corn. I know someone that's put away the deer corn because that lasts just as long as this does. He does know that that's like the bottom level of corn. The cheapest corn goes towards deer corn, but you can still eat it like everything else. I think it was They're independent that pointed that out, that you can just buy, feed corn, and it's basically like buying this stuff. Uh, Salt, sugar, I've mentioned all the other different types of beans. As long as they're dried, you can freeze them, O2 absorber, put them in mason jars, and you're good to go. On a side note, this is just a little bonus thing. You can do Mylar bags. A quart-size Mylar bag is going to run you about 38 cents. The oxygen absorber is going to be between 10 and 20 cents, depending on the CC level that you get. And then you pick up an $8 hair dryer to seal the bag, and then just make sure you use some sort of Sharpie and put what's in the bag and when you packaged it. And it's a good idea on at least some of this stuff to tape the nutritional facts or the prepare options on them. That way you have something useful from that. But that's your bonus. I have done quite a bit of food in Mylar bags, and I like to do that, but I also like to be able to visually see what's in it, because sometimes even when you freeze stuff, even when you use a O2 absorber, sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to go, and your food can go bad. It occasionally happens. So being able to see what's inside of it, I'm fine with spending a little bit of extra money to store the food that way. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, you learned something, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have a friend or family member that benefit from these videos, share the channel with them. And with that, catch you in the next one.